from there, we walk into St. Albans, I guess, proper, you would say, which we'll go through again later when we do our Hip Hop in Queens walk quite a ways away from here.
Yeah.
Towards the end of our time. But that's where a tribe called Quest is from, and there's a mural over there that we took a picture of as we were going by. And yeah, there's a lot of stores along the Linden Boulevard area, which is what we walked for a good chunk of the time. Very quiet this week. I don't know if it was because of the heat. When we were there on Saturday, we did a Tuesday through Saturday walk this week based on accommodating our 4-day weekend for Jesse's birthday last weekend. So on Saturday, there were a lot of people out there. And when we went by in the afternoons, there were more. In the mornings around 11 o'clock or so, the late mornings, there was basically nobody out there. And that was, I feel like for me, a theme of this week, which is there was a lot of silence in many of these neighborhoods that I'm not accustomed to in other parts of the city.
Right. Not a lot of car traffic, not a lot of people, not a lot of music.
No. There was, I'm trying to think how many areas were industrial that we walked through. And I don't think
Not
that there
very
were.
many.
No, really just the closest you could say was that little stretch between Jamaica and Myrtle Avenue.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was either under the train tracks or there was some park areas we'll get to, and a very large chunk of just home areas that were very silent. And I guess when we were walking through the St. Albans area, it was strange because there's a lot of commercial buildings, and for there to be silence around there was a little strange. But yeah, I was also trying to figure out what it didn't feel suburban in the way that last week felt. And I was trying to figure out why that was last night when I was just writing down some thoughts as I try and do each night. And I wasn't quite sure why. Like I thought that it was suburban in some ways in that there were more cars. Like it definitely felt like a car culture in a lot of these areas. And there's less sidewalk traffic. But then in other ways, like it felt like there was a lot more busing going on around here than the previous suburban areas that we had identified in like North Queens. And also I guess the store types and commercial areas felt like more connected to city living as well.
I'd say that too.
And then just like the homes, there were a lot of homes that they had the yards, they were independent structures from whatever was adjacent to them. And it's not like, I mean, certainly there are more people of color that live in this area, but it's not like they were out. So it's not like you're judging it based on like the people that are in the area. Like it's just something about the homes, and it wasn't like upkeep either because all the homes were like
Homes
well
were really
upkeeped.
cute. I think I would say the spacing in between the homes felt more like a city.
Yeah.
They were small homes, and you would go blocks and blocks without seeing any sort of establishment in some areas.
Yeah.
Any sort of store. But you would also see really wide streets that feel like an avenue that you cross over. Like you said, seeing the buses go by. The sidewalks felt like a city.
Yeah. Yeah.
In as much as they were maintained but not perfect.
Yeah.
Which is like what it's like near us.
I think one thing that's a little, even as I say it's a little paradoxical, is that I think there were a lot of areas that didn't have a lot of tree cover.
Hmm.
But I don't necessarily, when I think about areas that are in suburban areas, there are a lot of developments that don't have trees. So it's not
Yeah.
like, but there was something about the lack of trees in these areas which almost felt more city-like for some weird reason. Whereas in a resident or suburban areas of the past couple of weeks, suburban-ish areas, they
Yeah.
had more tree cover. So
Yeah. I think as you're saying this too, I think the size of the streets and the fact that it was still blocks
yeah,
made it feel more like we were in a city still,
yeah,
as opposed to last week. There were these streets that didn't have the yellow line in the middle of them. I felt like I could just walk in the middle of the street like I would have in a neighborhood in the suburbs. They didn't line up on 90-degree angles with the next street.
hmm
You weren't hitting block after block after block. It was like sometimes spread out, sometimes there'd be a curve. You weren't always sure that you were still going the same direction.
hmm
That might be the big difference for me.
yeah. So there's everything that we're describing covers the St. Albans, Cambria Heights, Queens Village, Hollis area that made up the I don't know, we're like miles, 9 through 14 of the walk going in one direction.